Salute to all the real ones out there. It's your boy Mike, back at you again with another video. Uh, if you've seen the other videos that I uploaded already and you like the direction that my channel was going, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video if you think it could help somebody along on their journey. Alright, so today's topic is basically going to be about my world view. Now, I'm one of those people who doesn't really follow too much in the mainstream media, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but my eyes have basically been open to the reality of the world from a lot of things. We'll start off when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was the oldest child, and I used to spend a lot of time with my grandfather, who I would say was pretty red pill as far as his knowledge of the world. And he treated me like an adult, even though I was only, from the age of 8 to maybe 15 is when I was around him the most. And he used to just talk to me like a grown man. He would tell me about the world. Sometimes we'll be watching whatever it was, Andy Griffith or the mainstream media, the news, headlines. He'd be reading the newspaper, what have you. And he would just drop jewels of wisdom right there on me that at the moment, at that age, didn't really stick with me. But the older I got, the more I started to see, man, he really has a point. And I'm glad I was around to catch those jewels, because out of all the men in our family, I would like to say my grandfather was the most masculine. He's the one who had the most principles from previous generations. And luckily I was around to catch that masculinity, right? So case in point, he would say something like, we'd be watching the news, it might be somebody that was black that got arrested or that got gunned down, and a commercial would come on. And he would look at me and he would say, you better understand how this world is set up before you grow up. The way you look, the color of your skin, where you come from, the world is always going to make you feel ashamed, or they will lie to you about who you truly are. You are one of the real Americans. You are Native American. You are not a slave. All the stuff they're teaching you in school is propaganda, right? So I would hear something like that and be like, But it would take years for me to realize that he was actually true. So for example, we researched my family tree all the way back to the 1600s. None of us were ever documented slaves. All of us were free and had business, whether we were shoemakers, blacksmiths, restaurant owners, bankers. I look back at pictures of my great-great-great-grandparents or whatever, and they were standing in front of a nice house. All of them were tall, strong, handsome, with nice hair, wearing very nice clothing, with gold necklaces, gold chains, rings, watches. So these are not the makings of what you would expect from a slave, right? But then you go to school and then they telling you that if you black and you grow up in America, the first thing they're going to hit you with is the slave trade. Then anything else that they're going to talk about as far as contributions that were made are going to come from Europeans or founding fathers, right? So that was like an eye-opening experience, just talking with my grandfather growing up and then realizing that he really was onto something when he would drop those jewels. He would tell me about racism. He would tell me about how smart it is to invest your money. Don't just save your money. Put it away somewhere where it can grow and it can work for you. He would also tell me that decorum is very, very important. So to carry yourself in a way that commands respect, to try to emulate the ways of a masculine man. He would also say things like, sagging your pants and stuff, and he would tell me that I look like a complete jackass, right? And I thought he was just hating, but in all reality, he was totally right. Come to find out that sagging is niggas spelled backwards. So it's like, damn, my grandfather was on to something. Or I don't want to harp too much on what he told me, but I know another thing he told me was that you need to speak clearly and don't be afraid to show your intelligence by using an extensive vocabulary. I didn't realize the importance of that until I started hanging around other dudes who maybe didn't catch this advice, and I really started to kind of close my eyes and just listen to the words they were saying. And I was like, damn, I bet if this person read what they had to say on a transcript that was typed up the whole day, they would maybe be a little bit embarrassed on their word choices, right? Now, aside from my grandfather's advice, being in the army definitely red pilled the fuck out of me because I was doing more before 9 a.m. than the average person was doing all day. I was up, shooting, moving, communicating, really being in the mix of some real shit. Especially as an airborne medic, my first deployment, I saw some crazy shit that just changed my whole opinion about war. And then when I would go home and watch the news and see what they were putting, I was like, damn, this is straight up untrue. They paint it like everywhere we go in Iraq, it's a whole bunch of insurgents that is out to kill us and this and that and the third. But in our reality, when I do research and I read books, I'm finding out that we funded a lot of these campaigns. So it's pretty much like, play it like this. You are where you are. I'm where I am. I'm working together with you as an ally. I'm supplying you, giving you everything you need, supporting you, and behind the scenes, you would think that we in cahoots with each other like this. But then I use the media to destroy your reputation and to justify the fact that I'm about to come over to your side and kick your ass for the same reason that I was the cause of, which is the fact that you have some inventory from the things that I provided you with. And now I'm saying that those things that I gave you are a threat. And that justifies me in front of the entire world to come whoop your ass, stop you from being, let's say, a threat. And then even 15, 20 years later, the history of our government shows that we don't really ever leave a destination or a location that we previously invaded. Go look in Germany. We have all these bases over in Germany. We got bases in Syria. We got bases in Africa. We got bases in, all over Asia, in Turkey, South America, Guam, Alaska. So that red pilled me already because I realized, damn, the mainstream media is telling one thing, but here I am actually in country, and I'm seeing that most of these people are just struggling for basic necessities to live. We will be driving, for example, going on a mission, driving from different parts of Iraq, performing convoy security so that our bases could be resupplied. And we be with bulletproof Humvees, all of us got weapons, all of us got food and supplies. And if you just take off one of us, one soldier, and just had him stand out with all his gear, that's easily thousands of dollars worth of equipment. But here we are looking on the side of the road, and it's like a whole family, mostly kids, running as fast as they can, maybe even barefoot on the hot desert sand, just begging for us to throw anything off the truck. And I remember one time we threw some Gatorades off the truck. Hey man, when I saw how they fought for those Gatorades, it was like an older kid who came. It was a group that was fighting over the Gatorades. An older kid came and swung and knocked the fuck out of them kids and stole all of them. And I'm like, dang, you know what I mean? So you expect me to believe that these people are the ones who are capable of really threatening in America? They don't even have their shit together in their own country. They over here fighting for Gatorade. They in shambles. You know what I mean? It's poor, it's destitute all over where I look. So that red pilled me. But I gotta say, the biggest thing that red pilled me was when I got out of the army. And you probably won't even find this shit on YouTube now. I see exactly what YouTube is doing. It's doing a cleanup of anybody who has a viewpoint that's away from the narrative. Hence why all these MGTOW channels that used to be real popular used to have a lot of traction and really used to have dudes taking a minute to stop and think. All of them been demonetized. It was like they went through a purge in 2018, just taking away any independent thinkers that were on YouTube that had a decent following, right? But back then, I watched a documentary series and it was called The Arrivals. The Arrivals basically highlighted a lot about the shadow government, secret societies, and the manipulation of young minds by way of Disney movies, cartoons, how they put propaganda in the places that you would least expect. Then there was a bunch of stuff that I watched from Alex Jones. Now I know Alex Jones is really over the top, but one thing that he really did was he interviewed a researcher and author who was named, he also studied geopolitics. His name was Alan Watt. And I remember I was watching one of his interviews that he had with Alex Jones, and he basically over a 30-minute period explained the the government's use for entertainment. And I gotta say, it blew my mind because it made so much sense that why do they invest millions of dollars in Hollywood movies and film? Why is the entertainment industry so dominant when you think about all the time that people waste watching it and being consumed by it? It makes total sense because that's when you can really indoctrinate them and keep them from asking too many questions, keep them from reading into what is really happening at that same time. So my mind is very red pilled, not just about women, but more so about life. And if I take it even back to about when I was about 14 years old, that's when The Matrix came out. Now, I gotta say, The Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time. The actors that they chose, the script, everything that it stood for, and the underlying message was basically mind-blowing because it felt like they put the truth in plain sight with that movie. They effectively let you know that you are in a matrix. And the people who attempt to break out of the matrix, i.e., the whistleblowers, the people who try to expose corruption, those individuals who understand what the elites have in store for us and do their best to convey it over to us so that we're warned. Those are all the people that are huge threats in this world. And that's exactly how it was in the movie. You know, Neo was in the Matrix, but always felt that something was off and was searching for answers. And once he came across Trinity and Morpheus and the whole entire clique, notice how fast he became under fire. You know what I mean? The CIA or whatever them agents are swooped down on him and basically threatened him to fall the fuck back from digging for more information. And he effectively said, fuck y'all. Went back in, away from the Matrix, learned what his whole role was, and he had to go through like the what is it called? The 5 stages of what is it called? It's slipping my mind at the moment, but he basically had to face a level of cognitive dissonance because everything that he thought was true turned out to be a lie, and he had to reprogram his consciousness in order just to function. You remember, like in the beginning when he found that stuff out, he was in denial at first, like, nah, that can't be true, that can't be true. But as time goes on, he started to learn the truths of the world and discovered within himself all of the powers that were necessary for him to effectively become the one. And after that, he was pretty much unfuckwittable, but notice how big of a threat he was to the agents. Every time they showed up, they were strictly focused on destroying him. So it kind of makes sense, right? And that made me think about this world that we live in, and like the mass media being one of the most effective psychological weapons ever produced. You know, like back in the day, people used to have communities. They would sit together, let the kids play, and the adults would, you know, throw a barbecue and talk with each other about what's going on in the local area. What's happened now? Everybody is doing their own thing, watching TV. You fast forward to today, everybody's on their phone. And then you got this corona bullshit that's telling everybody to socially distance. I don't care what happens with corona. I mean, the facts are the facts. The facts are the normal flu is 10 times, 50 times more deadly than the fucking coronavirus. If you ask me, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But I'm just going to say this. It will never, I don't think, ever go back to normal because they're going to emphasize this social distancing. Because if you are divided people, it's way easier to conquer. Right? And a little caveat off of that is, if you think about what's happening in the United States with all these killings, I think this shit is straight up orchestrated. Nothing is coincidental. Everything is planned. So I don't want to harp on this video too long. I just want to say, like, I'm one of them people that really have a different worldview, and I've learned on my journey to actually be a little bit more quiet about it, because whenever I do speak up and tell people my views, I usually am the one who get chastised, and everybody wants to attack me to conform back into their way of thinking. So anyone who thinks outside the box is looked at as a threat. So if anybody understands where I'm coming from, or has some comments or some other things that they would like to add to, feel free to go down in the comment section and just go and say what you got to say, because I'm one of these people who definitely get where you're coming from, and I just think that there's a lot of agendas that many people are just too blind to see. So with that being said, I appreciate you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.